Hello, everyone. So, today's topic is going to be very, very relevant for a lot of people. The big reason is that 1 in 6 individuals suffer from infertility issues, according to the most recent WHO reports. And when people are suffering from infertility issues, they cannot conceive naturally. They have to go for infertility treatments. And in most cases, it is the women who have to go for these. These include IUIs, IVF, and a lot more things, surrogacy, sometimes even adoption when these don't work. So, when we are talking about all of these infertility issues that individuals are suffering from, it is a very painful journey, not just physically, but emotionally as well. It leaves scars lifelong. I'm not even talking about the financial burden of all of this. So, in order to address what is going wrong, why do so many people have infertility issues? We have a very special guest today. We have Dr. Rajalaxmi Walavalkar. She is director of Cocoon Fertility Center from Thane, India. She has over 26 years of experience in this field of infertility. She is a fertility expert and she has spent half of her time in England, half of it in India, and she has an amazing experience helping thousands of patients come out of this problem. Welcome, Rajlakshmi. So
Hi.
today we are going to talk about what infertility is and how patients are dealing with it, and what does the microbiome have to do with it.
Let me in short start by defining infertility for everybody. So, when a couple has unprotected intercourse for a year and they still have not managed to have a child, that is when we as doctors like to start investigating. At the end of 2 years, of the 100 couples that started trying for a baby, 95 people should be pregnant. And the last 5% are the couples that we say are having some difficulty with falling pregnant. Infertility, in my opinion, becomes a very harsh word because infertility is inability to conceive. But from these 5%, if we are able to correct a few things with the way that we are like approaching the issue, we can get a lot of them pregnant. Most of them should respond to lifestyle modifications, and that is something that I'm really thankful, to the Arna team for taking this up because most people will respond to that bit. And then remains a smaller group in whom we as fertility experts have to start intervening with medicalizing the treatment solutions. So that is infertility in short. Now, people generally say infertility is a woman's problem. In my opinion, no, because people who understand Marathi will probably know that. So, okay, let's not use a Marathi example, let's use an English example. It takes two to tango. And if you want to have a baby, you need an egg from a woman and you need a sperm from a man. Which means both the partners have to be absolutely perfectly in their bestest of health to be able to conceive a healthy child. And therefore, infertility is not the issue of a single person. Okay. Having said that, the woman bears more responsibility of the fertility issue because the child also has to grow in her womb. The man, on the other hand, needs to give a healthy sperm, and therefore most of the treatments are aimed at women, whereas at men we will have some specific treatments depending on what problems they face, and that is how doctors generally tend to look at fertility. Um, I'll directly come to lifestyle things. So, people keep saying that you have to be healthy, you have to be healthy, you have to eat healthy, you have to make sure that you exercise well, you should not drink alcohol, you should not smoke, you should not do drugs, you should try and have intercourse on the right time. And these are all the advices that your doctors will give you to try and basically, increase your chances of falling pregnant naturally. But what people forget to understand is that let us go back to our traditional Indian meal. Okay, uh, our meal, maybe it was a morning meal or it was a night meal. Okay, so we did not have the concept of a breakfast. We would probably start with a glass of milk, then we would have a proper lunch, and then we would have a tea, and then we would have a dinner. The Western concept of having a big breakfast came in a bit later, and people's lifestyles have changed accordingly. Okay. Now go back to your thali. The thali that your mother or your grandmother used to serve to the family would have everything in it. It would have multiple colors. Okay, so you would have green palak, you would have red tomatoes, you would have coral colored gajar, you would have white rice, you would have yellow ghee, you would have yellow dal. So you had multiple colors on your thali when you sat down. And what did this do? This food would give you all the nutrients that you needed. But remember that every Indian thali would have that one vati of dahi and would have that one glass of tak. And why was this curd and buttermilk important? The curd and the buttermilk gave you very important microbial cultures. They gave you lactobacilli, and these lactobacilli were vitally important for keeping your GI tract working properly. Now, why is this important? Because if your GI tract has got an imbalance, okay, it doesn't matter how much good food you eat, it doesn't matter how much of bad things you try and avoid, it does not matter how many supplements I write for you and you take religiously every day. If your gut bacteria goes out of sync and you have not followed your traditional meal, which we don't follow now, okay, abnormal gut bacteria start growing, or the balance between the bacteria gets imbalanced, and your body is A, not able to absorb what you're eating correctly, okay, B, your body is not able to transmit what has been absorbed correctly, and three, it also has got an effect on the hormone regulation. Okay, so these three things go out of sync. And I'm going to concentrate only on this in today's talk. The reason being, this is one thing that's going to help my patients get pregnant even before they have to come to me. Okay, so they would technically not be my patients, but this is to help people get there without needing to medicalize themselves. Okay, so that is where the importance of the diet came from. Now, having talked about gut bacteria, we've got Rashmi Kulkarni out here. She's a fantastic scientist. And though, as a doctor, people expect me to know all the answers, Rashmi is the one who's worked more on it. I'm going to let Rashmi, I know you are supposed to interview me here, but I will really like you to take over here now and describe a little bit about the microbiome for our people.
Thank you so much, Rajalaxmi. So it is very important that we know what the gut microbiome is. And you would think that, oh, what does fertility have to do with the gut microbiome? Well, our entire health, all aspects of our health have everything to do with the germs in our gut. And what is the gut microbiome? It is our invisible organ. We have trillions of germs in our gut, in our intestines, that are helping us digest our food, that are helping us digest the fiber that we eat, that are helping us absorb minerals, that are helping us make a lot of vitamins that we need in our body, and that are helping us build our immunity. There are thousands of functions, if not more, that I can go on and on about the gut microbiome. So just like you would think that any of your organs is very important, our heart is a very important organ. Similarly, our gut microbiome is an extremely important organ. And yet we do everything to remove germs from our lives because we don't know we need them. So what happens is people don't have the right kind of germs in their gut. And then they are not able to digest the healthy food or whatever they're eating because we need help of this organ. And now the organ is incomplete in most people. So what happens is the food is not digested, the nutrients are not there, the cells are not getting what they need. There is a leaky gut, so that leads to inflammation even in the reproductive organs. So that is one more thing that happens when we don't have this organ, the invisible organ or the germs that are functioning. And as you rightly said, the synthesis of hormones also requires the gut microbiome. So there's a complete imbalance of hormones when there is an imbalance in the gut microbiome. So the first thing we need to do is to learn what it is. There are number of videos in on our channel about what it is, and how at Arna Genx we do a lot of things to fix the gut microbiome in order to fix all of the other issues, including fertility issues. Hi, I'm Dr. Rashmi Kulkarni, co-founder of Arna Genx Solutions, a microbiome-based resource platform for providing different kinds of microbiome-based resources like the human microbiome course that we provide for everybody, students, professionals in the fields of life science, nutrition, and medicine. We do outreach and webinars to educate the layman about what the microbiome is and its importance. We also do research related to the gut microbiome. We have our own microbiome superhero app designed for children to develop healthier habits and to help improve their microbiome. We have our own Shatayushi 360 degrees total transformation program to improve the gut microbiome to help reverse all kinds of chronic diseases. So that's what we do at Arna Genx. Please continue with the podcast. So, when we
Yeah,
talk
so
about the gut microbiome and how important it is for fertility, so that is something that, as you rightly mentioned, when we fix lifestyle, when we fix nutrition, when we fix all of these aspects, the infertility issues go away on their own in several cases. So, if we talk about infertility, what is the kind of age group that you are seeing now? That is something that is very interesting to me because previously, when we thought about infertility, it normally used to be the late 30s or 40s that actually, if there was delayed, thought of conception or people were trying very late, it was at that time that most people used to have fertility issues.
so currently now we are seeing two groups. We are still seeing the group which waits too long because maybe they get married but they want to settle down before they have their baby. They are delaying marriage because they are waiting for the right partner, or they are delaying marriage because they want to be settled in their profession. And so we do have that group that gets married only late, and therefore we are seeing them late. But what we have seen, surprisingly, is that even in couples that do get married at the right time, now, according to Indian society, right time is in early 20s. And then, by 25, 27, people expect you to have at least one or two babies, right? So even in that group of, people, they get married on time and they do try. And when they come to us, what we see is that there is a steady decline in the ovarian potential. So, what do we call? So, what is the ovarian potential or what is ovarian reserve? So, every woman has got eggs, a fixed number of eggs that she's born with, and as she grows older, she goes towards menopause, and these eggs start depleting. Because the eggs deplete, therefore the menopause happens. What we are seeing now is that women are finishing their eggs much earlier than what they were maybe 2 or 3 decades ago. That's the first thing that we're seeing. The second thing that we're seeing is that the quality of the sperm in the men that we are seeing is also declining with each passing decade. So, what maybe like 30 years ago when I was in medical school, and we used to see patients in our in like our teachers' OPD, a count of maybe 200 million sperm in a man used to be, "अरे ठीक है, okay count है." Today, those 200 million become an excellent account for me. Okay, it becomes an absolutely excellent count for me. Today, even so, and even according to WHO standards now, if you have a total count of 40 million, we are happy. And so therefore that decline we are seeing. We are seeing a decline in the motility, the swimming capacity of the sperm. We are seeing a decline in we're seeing a decline in the normal forms in the sperm. And most importantly, from like a fertility expert point of view, the capacity of the sperm to fertilize an egg, to enter an egg and to create a baby out of it, we see a decline in that also. And therefore, we see that fertility overall for the human race is on a decline at the minute, which does become worrying from our point of view.
Yes, the reason I've asked this question because it again goes back to the same lifestyle and food choices and nutrition aspect that you just talked about. That all of these wrong choices of food, improper nutrition, improper lifestyle, sedentary lifestyle, rather, and the misconceptions that people have about food. A lot of young people actually think that they are eating a very healthy diet. They go to the gym, they overdo exercising, and the nutrition absolutely does not match what they are doing in the gym. So and there's the other extreme, which is a very sedentary lifestyle, and poor nutrition goes hand in hand with everybody. So when we are talking about these kind of lifestyle issues in the youth, they directly correlate to fertility issues, which is why I asked the question about what kind of age group, because this was not the case. I have worked in fertility centers before, and it is quite shocking to see young adults coming to this stage where it's a thing that they've brought on themselves. So, what are the issues that, if we are talking about gut health, do you actually recommend your patients to fix their lifestyle, or what is it that you would do?
So, general advice goes with, trying to get into. So, see, understand one thing, if you are dealing with your obese patient, na, the patient is already struggling with weight. So, making her feeling more guilty about her weight doesn't work. And from a fertility consultant point of view, if somebody can reduce 10% of their body fat, that is enough to help me regulate things correctly. So instead of sitting there in judgment over somebody and telling them, no, no, you have to reduce weight, you have to become thin. Believe you me, that woman or that man have already struggled with trying to become thin. So putting more stress on them doesn't work. So in my opinion, what I very regularly do is I tell them, listen, I just want your fat tissue to go down. Okay. And with the fat tissue going down, my hormones are going to be metabolized both better. The minute my hormones get metabolized better, I'm going to get better response and she might fall pregnant. Okay. So, with like lifestyle modification, that's with weight. Obviously, alcohol and smoking, yes, in today's society, these have become normalcy. But then these two things do have a very bad effect on the quality of egg and quality of sperm that a person will produce. And you need to also understand that a person who smokes, that person, because of the smoke getting absorbed and circulating throughout the body in the bloodstream, also has a bad effect on your gut flora. Your gut flora takes a hit. You are again not absorbing properly. You are not absorbing properly, and then the entire cycle sets in. Okay. The similar thing will happen with alcohol. You take alcohol, you are causing gastritis. Your gastritis is going to be pushing more acid into your lower gut. That acid is going to be killing your normal microbiome. And it just becomes this one cycle that a person is not able to get out of. And this is true for both men and women. Maybe 20 years ago, women did not smoke or women did not drink. But now in society, if you like go out socially, you would see the woman maybe having like a cigarette or two, or you would see women probably drinking as much with as like guys could. I mean, not to sit in judgment, but then it is going to hamper their capacity for carrying a baby for 9 months. And at least during the fertility time, that's the advice that we give them. And finally, what I normally do is I do get them to add a little bit of yogurt and maybe Yakult or chas and a, like a little bit of ghee in their diet. I normally tell them that 1 spoon of ghee is not going to kill you. Please have that, because whatever fat soluble vitamins I'm giving you, they have to get absorbed. And that is something that I do normally recommend that they do regularly. Having actually said that, we're talking a lot about gut microbiome and all, and people still think that you're like talking about my gut, okay? And I'm having falling and I'm having problems falling pregnant with my womb, with my ovaries, okay, with my the intercourse is happening through vagina. How the hell is your gut microbiome causing my problems in a completely different system? So once we discussed about absorption and a direct link with the hormone cycle that we've already seen. But one needs to understand that when we talk about microbiome, it is not only the gut microbiome, but your other systems in the body also have a microbiome. So which means if you take a look at the nose, okay, there are going to be certain normal bacteria which are needed to stay in the nose to keep the nose healthy. Okay. Similarly, you take a look at the genital tract. So the vagina of a woman, so the part where intercourse happens, the vagina also needs to have certain normal microbes that need to stay there to maintain its health, to maintain its pH, and to keep it healthy. Now, if this does not happen, so we have a condition called as bacterial vaginosis. Okay, so bacterial vaginosis, the normal microbiome in the vagina is replaced by a infection-produced microbiome. Okay, this infection is not a frank infection. It might just be a little bit of discharge, which is of a little bad smell, but that is killing the sperm. That is causing miscarriages. That is not allowing the baby to be fertilized properly. These microorganisms can travel into the cervix, which is the neck of the womb. they can travel further into the endometrium, which is the lining of the uterus where the baby has to stick, and therefore we have problems everywhere. So if you try and take a look, 2014 was probably the first time that studies of microbiome in the vaginal tract started happening. So BV was always known, but studies of microbiome in the endometrium, or the studies of microbiome in the polycystic ovaries, etc. And now in 2021, we definitely know that the lining of the uterus has got its own set of microorganisms, maybe in a very small quantity. When they get imbalanced, you are going into a complete imbalance. The baby may not stick. So that is also a reason for implantation failure, for baby not implanting in the uterus, that we normally believe in. And so, what do we have to do at that point of time? We need to make sure that we have interventions. Uh, it may be dietary interventions, which are a must. And in addition to that, maybe taking some supplements that are going to be improving your microbiota. Okay, and usually most of these supplements are oral supplements. Now, how do oral supplements help at other places? By two ways. One, you could have the microbiome generally as a normal thing will transfer from like one organ to the other. So obviously, even if you're taking them to the gut, when you go to the washroom and all, the microbiome would spread on the perineum, and then from there would have a normal colonization of your genital tract, and that's the most common way of doing that. The other way is to give the microbiome directly in the form of a pessary to the genital tract itself. And the other thing to understand is that whenever you have disturbance of this microbiome, okay, what happens is that it will give an abnormal immune reaction. This immune reaction can do two things. It can either reject the sperm. If it rejects the sperm is of becomes loses its capacity, gets hampered, gets damaged, and therefore may not be able to come with an egg and may not be able to give you a baby. If this baby forms, it might undergo miscarriage because the original, sperm was not of a good health because it was already damaged by the abnormal microbiome. That's the first thing that might happen. The second thing that happens is that when there is a normal microbiome in somebody's system, in somebody's fertility, in somebody's reproductive system, these microbiome also have got an immune response. The body knows that these are microorganisms, and a certain amount of immune response is already present at that point. Now, what happens is that when the sperm comes, the body's immune system is already engaged. Sperm comes from somebody else, that is not our own true. It is like not like our own cell. It is like a foreign cell for. So when the sperm comes in, the body's immune system, because it is already engaged with the microbiota, it does not attack the sperm, and that is where it also helps. So in natural fertility, okay, if you can correct your microbiota, you are correcting all these three things, and that is how falling pregnant becomes easy. That is something, so patients often say to me, you are asking me to take the supplements for like, improving my gut bacteria. How the hell are they going to help? So one, metabolism of your hormones becomes better because your absorption, etc. happens better. So that's just so you are like, microbiota, brain, hormonal axis. That's the first axis that we need to talk about. The second thing that we talk about is this immune response locally. So like this immune response modulation also helps. The third thing is that because it is normally present, it does not allow abnormal infections to grow. So that's your third benefit that you get. And the fourth benefit that you get is that the inflammation response. Okay. So even when the baby is formed, the baby is also 50% the husband. So therefore that rejection is like reduced. And that is how normally it should work. Sorry, I think I've been going
Absolutely.
on
That
pretty
was
long.
a very No, no, that was a very important point. Several important things that you covered when we talked about normal conception versus, going for fertility treatments. Again, we are talking about different rate of, success of different fertility treatments. So again, if the microbiome is not fixed, these fertility treatments are not going to work that well because the vaginal microbiome is still abnormal. So it will impact the rate of success of the fertility treatments. It will impact implantation. It is going to impact how the baby even develops because the environment has not changed. The microbiome is still abnormal. So that needs to be fixed. It is a very important point. And as you said, the fetus, the immunity around the fetus is suppressed. There is an immune suppression that is actively happening to allow the baby, which is half 50%, like somebody else says, it's the fathers. So in order to allow it to develop properly, there is active immune suppression. And for all of these mechanisms to work, for the baby to receive proper nutrition, for the reproductive organs to receive proper nutrition, for inflammation to be prevented, the gut microbiome absolutely needs to be healthy. And that is going to allow all other microbiomes to be healthy. So, as you said, pH in the vaginal tract, there are specific bacteria that need to be present to maintain that particular pH, to maintain that particular health. And another very important aspect of this is the gut brain axis. When stress is low, when the gut microbiome is functioning properly, we have the right kind of neurotransmitters made, the right kind of happy hormones made, the right kind of short chain fatty acids that are made by the gut microbiome. There is a reduction of stress. And that in itself is a big contributor to the success of all of these fertility treatments. So there are many of these factors that we are looking at when we talk about the gut microbiome. So it is amazing that you are actually educating people about this. I don't know how people react when you said that. I mean, it seems like something totally foreign to them when you say that you need to take supplements to improve your gut microbiome. But it is pretty
No, so
amazing. Do you use
generally,
these techniques?
generally, if you explain to them, break it down to small bits, and explain to them why patients usually are accepting. It is, if they understand why, then they work with you for a great option. If you just give them to, if you just say, take this without any explanation or without any discussion about it, then obviously somebody tells me, okay, eat this. I will not eat it. I need to know why. Okay, so that why is very important, and that is what I think your like podcast series is going to do.
Yes, because we are looking at multiple steps here. We want to address why people are having fertility issues in the first place. Why are they having these in their 20s? This is the most fertile period that any human should have. And that's not we are seeing in the current generation. That has changed over the past 2 decades very, very significantly, not just in India, worldwide. That's a really big issue. And then when we are talking about people who are in their 30s and 40s who used to come for fertility treatments earlier, this particular age group, because of whatever delayed marriage or delayed whatever, looking at their career options, but these people are already suffering from chronic diseases. So fertility is something that is in addition to looking after those chronic diseases, there are so many other
Absolutely.
factors to consider which are not there. So I'm sure if you're seeing people in their 30s and 40s, they might be coming to you with pre-diabetes, diabetes, or some kind of a chronic disease, and then they have to go for this fertility, which again complicates things
Yes,
further.
absolutely. Absolutely. That is happening because, see, what has happened is that over the last 3 to 4 decades now, our entire lifestyle in India has changed drastically. For that matter, lifestyle even in the Western world has changed. Cooking at home has almost stopped. People are having takeaways, people are having irregular diets, people are eating not for nutrition, but people are eating for enjoyment. And that is where the entire concept of a nourishment for your body has gone out of the window. And the minute you have one wheel of your clock going out of sync, your clock is going to be running fast, and that is how people are finishing their fertility fast. So, people really need to know that they have to go back to basics now. We cannot be ordering pizzas every day. So, people say pizza is great. Italians must be so lucky they're having pizza every day. They don't have pizza every day. Pizza is once in a while when there is leftover from last night that has to be finished today. Italian food, even Italians don't eat pizza every day. Whereas we have made pizza part of our lives. We are like doing it 3 or 4 times a week. And that is where the problems happen.
Yes, absolutely. So, as you rightly said, if we bring back the ancient knowledge and instead of taking some things from different cuisines and trying to make that as a part of our daily diet, it's a once in a while thing. Even for Italians, as you said, it's not a regular thing. If we look at the Mediterranean diet or what people in Italy also eat, it's actually a very healthy diet. It is number one. each year we look at what diet is the best diet to follow. Mediterranean diet always tops the list because they have a huge variety of fresh fruits and vegetables in it. They have healthy oils, healthy fats, and minimal processed food. There is hardly anything processed in their diet. The pizza, as you said, is very rare on occasions. Even meat and fish, it only forms maybe 20% of their diet. Majority, 80% of their diet is plant-based, fresh produce. This is why they are healthy. So if we really want to copy all of that, we have to look at what aspect is keeping them healthy and not just go for, you know, pizza or things like
Absolutely.
that. So
Absolutely.
this, thank you so much for the wonderful insights that we had about fertility. We are going to talk about a lot more things about what is causing, you know, teens to have their, menstruation starting very early, menarche very early in pre-teens. We will talk about a lot of other topics like PCOD, PCOS, about the issues that women have during their fertility and what is causing early menopause and a lot of things. So we are doing all of this for the International Women's Day, which is in March. We are going to be covering all of these topics so that people know. We don't normally go to doctors to ask about these things, but this is something that is going to increase people's awareness. This is going to increase people's knowledge. And thank you so much, Rajalaxmi, for the enlightening discussion that we had.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
for having me here. I have thoroughly enjoyed this session.
Thank you so much. So, if you are looking for solutions for any of these, if you want to know more about what is causing these fertility issues in young women, in young men, what can you do to avoid those? Because we have a limited resource and we want to preserve it. We want to make the best out of it. Stay tuned for more such podcasts. We are going to be bringing in very, very interesting topics in the upcoming podcast. See you in the next one.